Welcome to the Slow Smoked Pigskin podcast. I'm Darren.
And I mean Drew. And this is
our podcast.
What are you doing? You're not Aaron.
You're not Drew.
I think we should go.
That was weird, right?
Yeah, it was.
Anyways, I'm Aaron,
I'm Drew.
and this is our podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of the Slow Smoke Pigskin podcast, recapping week 3 of the 2024 NFL season. I am Aaron. That is a handsome man who can save your life or something like that. Andrew?
It's Drew. I'm here.
So week 3, weekly winner this week, Mr. Steve Jackson. Max, he put up 154.55 points. Had he set his perfect lineup, it would have been 161.59. So not too far off. However, the person with the highest max score, if they knew how to set a lineup properly, for once wasn't me. It was actually Drew this time.
Yep.
He could have set a perfect lineup of 188.39.
It would have never happened. Like, there's certain players that just you don't like. They just weren't going to start. That happened to hit this week. But yeah, if I would have had one player that was in my starting lineup, I would have beat Steve, and we were close up until the end there.
That's a bummer. But
Yeah.
We'll get into those details in a few. So, first matchup we're going to talk about is Janelle versus Drew. Now, for the second week in a row, Janelle has the highest points in a loss, 142.38. To Drew finished 151.19. So Drew finished just over 3 points behind Steve. He was trying to come back on Monday night, but it did not quite happen.
Just short.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Janelle got led by Jonathan Taylor, who had 26 points. Jamar Chase put up 26.8 for her. Drew was led by Kyron Williams with 30.6. I mean, they got nobody else like healthy on that offense, so it's pretty much. And the really funny part about that is, there was all this drama made about the fact that Kyron was returning punts. If you noticed late in the game this weekend, he was not returning punts anymore because they were like, we can't afford to lose him. And then somehow the second highest score on his team was his defense. The Packers with 23.75. If you're in a league where you can stream defenses, not like our Dynasty League where everybody owns them, stream the defense against Will Levis because he does dumb things and will help get you fantasy points.
He's good for an interception at least and a fumble. Not to mention probably 2 or 3 sacks. So yeah.
Janelle, go ahead.
No, that's good.
Janelle got let down by where'd he go? James Conner with only 3 points. That's kind of surprising. He's been really involved. And then Drew got let down. We've had all this talk about the breakout for Jamison Williams. He had 1 reception for 9 yards and 1 carry for -7 for a total of 0.7 points.
0.7.
That's rough.
Like I said, I could have started anybody else in that spot and probably would have been okay.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
For example, you could have started Roma Dunze, who put up 20.4. It's kind of looking like as long as Keenan Allen's hurt, that Roma Dunze can be a spot in your lineup.
It was nice to see Caleb Williams throw the ball a lot for a lot of yards. That's promising. As far as if you've got other players, like I've got 2. I've got DJ Moore and Odunze. So it's like you start them both, and it's like you kind of I don't know.
He looked better. He didn't look as good as Jaden Daniels, but that's a different story we can talk about in a few. And then Janelle, the tight end position continues to be disgusting, but Tyler Conklin scored a touchdown with the Jets, so he had 11.8 points. I think he scored a touchdown, didn't he? So he had 11.8 points. No, he actually didn't. He was 5 catches for 93 yards and 11.8 points. That's probably like tight end 2 on the week with the way it's been.
It's been rough with tight ends.
The tight end landscape is nasty right now. But the only good news is that nobody's getting points from the tight end, so it doesn't really make a huge difference.
No.
Injuries, no new one. Well, it says no new injuries, but Jalen Warren's injury is new. He's got a knee. Najee was seen with his arm in a sling, but it's been claimed he's fine and going to play.
Yeah.
George Kittle missed the game with a hamstring injury that popped up late in the week. That sucks. And then Jordan Addison missed the second game in a row with a sprained ankle, but there's hopes that he's coming back next week, which is just crazy when you think about how good the Vikings have looked over the first 3 weeks. And that's without Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson still coming back at some point. It's like, whoa, are the Vikings like legit when everyone thought they were going to be garbage? I know
there's definitely chemistry there between Darnold and Jefferson. Jones has been
got nicked up too, right?
He did, but he was out with a knee, but he was full practice today from last I heard. It was a precautionary thing, like nothing.
Yeah, I heard the MRI was clean and he was good, but
he's good to go.
All right, another matchup. So Drew was chasing Steve on Monday night. Yes. I was trying to hold on to win Monday night, which I did not do. Not only did I not do it, I also couldn't put up a couple extra points to get over the median. So I got 2 losses this week. It really sucked because I got Josh Allen on my team. He was the number 1 quarterback of the week. Unfortunately, I think Dak was number 2, but no, it's not. That's neither here nor there.
We'll talk about that when we get to it because that's misleading.
Yeah, but Josh Allen barely played in the fourth quarter. Like, I think he didn't play after, I think there was 9 minutes left in the fourth. I'm like, no, I need 2 more points. Get him back in there. But, he was doing whatever he wanted. He threw touchdowns to 5 different people or something.
It was varsity against JV. It was ridiculous.
Bad game.
Yeah.
I lost 115.45 to 121.84 to Neil. Josh Allen led my team, obviously, number 1 quarterback on the week with 30.92 points. Justin Jefferson had a good day, 17.10. But Neil, shockingly, with how bad the Bengals have been, they're looking like the Bungles again. Joe Burrow, 25.36. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, when he doesn't have a touchdown but gets his targets, he'll get you a day like this with 18 fantasy points. Busts. I got 6.7 and a temper tantrum out of CD. The Dallas defense put up 0.45 fantasy points. Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Swift, and Travis Kelce all put up about 5 points apiece.
It was all right around that 5 mark.
Not all 3 of those guys in your lineup with that are at 5 points is not going to work.
Which is the ironic thing because when you go up against a team, a manager who has a goose egg in their starting lineup, chances are you've got a pretty good chance, right?
Yeah, so we haven't got there yet, but Neil had Rashid Shaheed in his starting lineup with 0 points.
Goose egg. You're like, oh, sweet. That's going to be great. No.
Yeah, no. I lost to somebody with a goose egg. And then Devon Achane also let him down with only 8 fantasy points. The Dolphins need to get a quarterback in their stat.
Their backup got hurt.
Yeah, he got Skylar Thompson got a rib injury and probably not playing. Now they're looking at Tim Boyle. They need to go find one of these quarterbacks they can trade for or see if Tannehill will come off the couch. Or I
was going to say, I don't know if we were talking in text thread or on this, but Tannehill's an option. It literally, at any point in time, anybody is a better option than what they have.
Maybe Brady's coming.
I could be left-handed better than these quarterbacks right now.
His kids, Brady's kids go to school in Miami.
They do. I've heard he's not. He's open to it, but
we'll see.
I mean, Tannehill's a better option than what they have now. I don't know where Flacco ended up, but I think he's back up somewhere. Like trade for somebody.
Indianapolis, I think.
Is he in? Is he?
I think
Yeah,
he's a
like
Colt. Yeah.
you could go get.
Jameis.
No, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I was gonna say they had what's the backup in Denver? The old Jets quarterback.
Rippin?
No, who? The motherfucker.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
There you go.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of the
he's
name.
really bad.
But he could do better.
No, I don't know if he could.
He could.
Anyways,
with the weapons that they have, he could do better.
On my bench, I had one of the top tight ends of the week in Jake Ferguson. I may be putting him in my lineup next week over Travis Kelce until Kelce shows me something. And then
you go ahead and do that, and then Kelsey's going to go off. So, yeah, that's perfect.
Right. And then Trey Tucker with 19 points, who Steve made fun of in the preseason when I picked him up off of waivers. He's like, a guy named Minshew or O'Connell throws to him. Yeah, well, he just had 19 fantasy points, and if he'd been in my lineup, that was almost 4 times as many fantasy points as Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
And then I just mentioned Jaden Daniels was on Neil's bench. I think it was 21 of 23, like set the record for the highest completion percentage for a rookie ever in a game. He had more touchdown passes than incomplete passes. Kid looked good.
The thing that's impressed me the most is he hasn't thrown an interception yet.
Yeah.
Like the dude takes care of the ball. Like he learned to slide. I saw a decent slide.
Did he slide one?
He actually slid. If that's the case, I mean, don't think of this as like he's going to become like he's going to be Tom Brady this year. Like he's going to go through some learning curves. He's going to go up against some defenses that have figured him out. But that dude is by far
his running
leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else.
His running was always what he was, but if he can learn to be a quarterback too, a quarterback as well, not a quarterback too, that's huge. So stock up for Jaden Daniels right now. Yep. And then Neil also had Jacoby Myers. So basically each of us had a Raiders wide receiver who went off on their bench because no one wants to trust the Raiders wide receiver, especially when they have a quarterback change in the middle of the game.
I mean, it's going to happen again next week. So
so they're saying that Minshew's still going to remain the starter for now, but once you open that door, it's just a shit show for the rest of the year. Injuries, I was without Joe Mixon, who is still, recovering from that ankle injury from the hip drop tackle. Evan Ingram missed a second game with his hamstring injury. And then, by the way, since we had Taysom Hill, it's really confusing that you put T Hill in the notes here because that's Taysom and Tyreek in the same game. Anyways, that's just like R. Wilson for the Steelers. There's Russell and Roman. Anyway, so dang it, Taysom Hill has a bruised lung and he missed the game. Yes. So,
Ingram is listed as questionable for week 4 still.
Yeah, I heard he's probably supposed to play. I picked him up off of waivers in the league because somebody had actually dropped him. And considering the horrible tight end landscape, I'll pick up Evan Ingram right now.
If you've got room for him.
Yeah. Okay, next matchup. Josh, who, claimed his team was so bad, picked up another win against Joe. We have had such interesting, other than Steve's been consistent. That's why he's 6-0. But other than that, we have people bouncing up and down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but Adrian won week 1 with 170 something points and then has gotten crushed 2 weeks in a row. Yep. But Josh, second week win in a row. He had the lowest points in a win, just barely squeaked. No, did he get 2 wins?
No, 120. I think 120 was the.
I think he got. I think he was 1-1. So he beat Joe 118.68 versus 103.71. Terry McLaurin caught a long touchdown pass, got him 18 points. Dallas Goedert was the best tight end of the week. with 23 points. By the way, I believe because of those 23 points, he is now the tight end 1 on the year.
Probably.
That's how bad it is. He had one good game, and he's the tight end.
And he's got a total of 25 points, probably.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's bad right now.
Joe was led by Chris Olave, who finally showed up a little bit, 18.6, and Aaron Jones, 23.3, who's been doing work in Minnesota.
Mr. Consistent.
Yeah. Bust. Ooh, this one hurts. Mark Andrews with another goose egg, like for Josh, and then Devontae Adams. Because those other
they threw to somebody else
receivers got catches. Devontae Adams ended up with 7 points. Yeah. Anthony Richardson. People forget that he's basically a rookie. Like everyone had such high hopes for him this year. Like I was listening to like the ESPN fantasy podcast. They were talking about taking him number 1 overall and thought he was going to be the number 1 quarterback. 7 points. Like, ouch. And then this one crushed me in a lot of leagues. The Raiders defense put up negative 0.67 points against the Carolina Panthers, who apparently showed that Bryce Young is the worst quarterback in the history of football. If
By
Andy
far.
Dalton can come in and throw for 303 and stomp the Raiders.
Well, they
like
got
the
weapons.
The only difference is the quarterback. That is insane. Right. So, yeah. And because of that, Joe left Deontay Johnson on the bench, who had 22 points.
Right.
And Josh left Emmanuel Wilson, who got more work than Josh Jacobs this week, or at least did more with it, and with 15.5 fantasy points. Injuries, yeah, this one sucked. Devonta Smith out with a concussion. Austin Eckler, who looked fantastic before he got hurt. He broke off some plays I hadn't seen Eckler do in a couple years. It was like, oh, Eckler's back.
Yeah.
He's out with a concussion and has already been ruled out for week 4, so that's a bummer. Well, it's actually for you, it's probably good because you have Brian Robinson.
I'm okay with it. Like,
yeah,
Brian Robinson had. Well, and I mean, we didn't talk about it, but like he got the touchdown. Yeah. So did Eckler, but he only scored like single-digit points because he didn't have any yards. But this will hopefully be good for me for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we shall see. And then Alvin Kamara didn't practice today. I saw there was like a knee and a rib thing. Honestly, it's Wednesday, which is generally just like a veteran day of rest. So I wouldn't think too much. Alvin Kamara's been, I think he's a top 5 running back right now. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a 4-touchdown game, but he's looked solid. The Saints have looked solid, even though they lost this week. They lost, right?
They did.
Yeah, they lost to the Eagles.
Yes.
All right, next matchup. Jason Freeman, who was our least efficient manager of the week, setting the worst lineup compared to what he could, versus Steve. We already mentioned Steve won the week, 154.55. Jason Freeman, 115.67. Jason Freeman actually managed to start Chuba Hubbard despite how bad Chuba's been, but Chuba rewarded him and put up 25.4 points. However, Steve's running back said, hold my beer. Saquon Barkley, 31.6, and Derrick Henry with 29.9. By the way, I think Jason's other running back was Jahmyr Gibbs, who also had like 16.3. So all the running backs started in this matchup had a pretty good week. It's just that Steve's had a better week.
Yes, Steve has hit the gold mine with Barkley and the Henry duo that is producing right now.
Jason got let down. Jalen Hurts only had 12.9 fantasy points. He had no touchdowns, either passing or rushing, which hurts. Zay Flowers, Blue Chunks, 3.80. We'll talk more about him in a bit. Steve got let down by Baker Mayfield, 9.52. And then Steve, I couldn't figure out why he picked up 2 kickers on waivers this week. Oh, it's because his kicker got him 1 point. Bench heroes. So Jason got the bench hero of the week that I picked him up in a league or two and didn't have the balls to start him. Jawan Jennings with are scoring 41 fantasy points. I believe it was 11 for 175 and 3 or something like that. Yeah, 11 catches, 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. I guess when Kittle's out, Samuel's out, CMC's out, and Ayuk's out, then you have to throw to Juwan Jennings.
Ayuk wasn't out.
Exactly, he just sucks. I was waiting for you to say it. You're like, wait a second. I knew it was coming.
Oh, no, yes.
I set you up. And then Jason, who would have thought he should have started Bo Nix over Jalen Hurts?
But I mean, like, that's one of the things that you got to look at with, like, the Eagles haven't had this number one RB. Like, they haven't had a Barkley. They haven't had someone that can go in there. And at the goal line where Hurts was going for touchdowns on, tush pushes and stuff like that, like, he's not going to get those opportunities anymore. So is he going to be, a lower end top 10 quarterback? Is he even out of the top 10 at the end of this season? Just because when you get close, you can hand the ball off now.
You can hand the ball off, although they did that fake tush push where they gave it to Saquon. That failed miserably. But I expect a whole lot of Saquon in the next couple of weeks if A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are out.
Both of them are out, yeah.
Yeah, ouch. And then Steve, well, I mean, the Vikings defense for him had almost 17 points on the bench, which you'd go, oh, ow. Except for he started the Seattle defense that had 21 points. It's like...
It was literally the only bench hero that he had. No, he wasn't the most efficient lineup, but he was close to it.
He missed it.
He set a really good lineup and didn't have anybody on his bench that really scored any points that was worth mentioning.
Yeah, Trey Sermon scored 7.6, and he could have put him in instead of Pittman or something. Because Pittman is so
big disappointment.
Oh God, he's been. Well, I mean, part of that's Anthony Richardson, but
yes.
Anyways, but Steve had benched Pittman anyway, so it didn't matter.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry, he did play Pittman. Either way, he won. But who cares?
Yeah. Right.
Injury. So Kenneth Walker missed the game with his abdominal, oblique, whatever you want to call it, injury. That who knows how much longer it's going to last. Trey McBride, he's now out with a concussion. So. More tight end drama. Oh, wait. Also, Sam Laporta with I think his is a low ankle sprain.
Low ankle, correct.
So
which
low
is
ankles
apparently better.
Yeah, they tend to last less than a high ankle. Mm-hmm. And then Skylar Thompson, backup quarterback, who was the backup, now the starter for Miami. He's out with a chest/rib injury. Not sure if he's playing. They gotta figure something.
It doesn't matter.
Like, what the hell? Yeah. All right. Next was Adrian, who we already mentioned. He was the lowest score of the week. 95.03 points against Jason Smith, who put up 148.06 for our biggest blowout of the week at over 50-point differential.
Sorry, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much he had two players do well, which was Lamar Jackson with basically 26 points and the Jets defense with 17, and everyone else blew massive chunks.
Pretty much.
Jason actually had a bunch of people do pretty well. But the big ones to talk about, I mean, Dak Prescott had almost 29 points. David Montgomery had 20. Amari Cooper finally decided to show up and had 24. The Buffalo defense had 21. Like, he got a whole bunch of points from a lot of people all around.
Yep.
And then, like we said, Adrian got let down by everybody, but the biggest disappointment of all was Ramondre Stevenson, who had 6 carries for 23 yards and a fumble lost, which gave you a whopping total of 0.3 points. That's just gross. And then Mike Evans also 3.7 points. That's 2 weeks in a row for Mike Evans, the down week. So, first week looked great with Baker, and Evans is going to continue his 1,000-yard streak, but hasn't looked good the last couple.
I don't think the offense has looked very well the past two games, if I haven't mistaken, that they won their first and then lost. They looked really good in their opener, but I mean, it's a long season.
Yeah, for Jason, Jordan Mason let him down slightly. I mean, he put up 9.8 fantasy points. It's hard to pitch with almost 10 points, but on a projection of 14. And then Kaimi Fairbairn, the kicker, got him 1 point, which I know crushed me in a couple leagues. The Houston offense just did not do well. Maybe Joe Mixon is more of an important piece to that offense than we think or something.
Maybe.
Who knows? Speaking of that offense, Adrian left Stephon Diggs on the bench, who didn't have a monster day, but about 15 points. And then Jason Smith, I mean, he started Dak, who had 29, but good old Red Rocket Andy Dalton with 24.56, making Bryce Young just look absolutely stupid.
Could Bryce Young thrive in the Dolphins offense?
Probably not. I don't know. Is he fast? I know he's little. Does that mean he's fast though?
He's quick.
I mean, because we know that Mike McDaniels loves the fast. So, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, wait a second. Now that there's openings,
I heard reports.
Jobs lost.
I heard reports that multiple teams have inquired about Bryce Young. I don't know that they're going to move him. It's only his second year, but he is at the moment a gigantic bust. So
gigantic, yeah. And to go with that though, you're not going to start Dalton over Dak, but that was just the biggest bench hero that he had on his bench for the week. So you had to kind of.
It's just
trade bait if someone needs a quarterback.
And we had to talk about the fact that Andy Dalton put up 25 points against the Raiders when Bryce Young couldn't complete a pass.
Yeah.
All right. Injuries. Cooper Kupp still out. He's probably out for at least one more. Last I heard, Amari Cooper. I don't know what that one's about. I hadn't heard anything.
He was he's listed as questionable, but there's nothing listed.
It's another veteran rest day, probably. Keenan Allen missed a game with the heel injury, which is not good because he missed games at the end of last year with the heel injury. He's getting older. This is a bad sign. Deebo Samuel, as expected, missed the game with a calf. Josh Palmer? I didn't know about this one.
He was out for the week 3, and so he's still listed as.
Oh, did he not play week 3? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, he was still out. He was out for week 3, still listed as questionable. With the elbow/calf, they're not sure what hurts him more. But the same thing with Allen Samuel. He missed games at the end of the season last year. I thought that was going to happen this year with me being the owner of Ayuk.
Yep.
Thinking that he's, going to kind of produce a little bit more and be there on the field a little bit more, but that hasn't happened. So I don't
know. None of the guys who missed, well, I guess Jamar Chase finally had a pretty good week this week, but
he did.
CD hasn't been great. I mean, he's been okay, but he hasn't been normal CD, and Ayuk has not looked good, so there's something to missing camp. Right. But anyways. Here's something I did not expect to say. Eddie was the most efficient manager in terms of setting the best lineup and the highest overachiever in terms of exceeding his projections this week. Eddie scored 144.78 points. That's the second week in a row that he scored over 100. Glad we didn't make that bet.
Right.
Versus Raph, who...
Raph has not been doing well.
No, him and Adrian... started off week 1 great and then went, I'm pretty much there too, but not quite as bad. So Eddie, has Jordan Love as his starter. So he had to find something to do. So what did he do? He grabbed Malik Willis, who put up 25 points.
He's balled out 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Well, this one, I think Malik Willis just wanted his revenge on the Titans for keeping Levis.
Yeah.
And then Zach Charbonnet put up 26.2. I heard he has not looked good as a runner. He's been doing it in the passing game. Admittedly, I did not watch any of the game. I was just hearing.
Does it matter?
Talking heads talk. but
if he can put up 26 points as a running back, receiving the ball, like the offense is doing something right. But I've seen a couple of runs. I don't think he's as consistent and like as big as Walker. Like I don't think he's like taking his job all of a sudden.
No. When Walker comes back,
like it's the Charbonnet is gonna come down a little bit. But again, if they're coming from behind, they have that option, and that's a good option to have if you're coming from behind as from the Seahawks.
Ralph, despite his poor output, had a few players have some nice days. Cole Kmet, 20.57 points. Like, wow, that's a hell of a tight end day. 10 for 97 and 1. We've got Zach Moss had 18.2. That's another one. Like, that offense does not look the same without Joe Mixon. Like, apparently Joe Mixon's better than a lot of people give him credit for. And then DeAndre Hopkins finally showed up, looking a lot better this week. 16.3 points for him. Eddie got let down by his kicker, Daniel Carter. We had a bunch of kickers let the people down this week.
Which is the ironic thing, because did you see that stat after week 2? There was more field goals. Like there was like something like 73 field goals made in the week, and it was like we had kicker after kicker, kind of like how the defense went off this week. And then all of a sudden, it's the tides have turned, and all of a sudden we're just like, oh, let's just score touchdowns instead.
And it's crazy because, dude, like a 55-yard field goal now is like nothing. Like, you're like 55, that's fine, go for it, whatever. Like,
sure,
crazy. Actually, Justin Tucker has missed kicks a couple of weeks in a row, which is absolutely insane.
Right.
Then Ralph got let down by CJ Stroud, only put up 11, and Josh Jacobs with 5.3. Like, we expected with Jordan Love out to just be feeding Jacobs, but not so much.
And you expect CJ Stroud to be, I mean, they only put up 7 points for the game, so that's kind of hard to, you're not going to score points as a quarterback if you're not scoring touchdowns, but you kind of expect that offense to be rolling.
Yeah. Eddie, I mean, he almost set his perfect lineup, so he didn't really have any bench heroes. And then Ralph left Houston's defense on the bench with 19 points. But he was playing his beloved Bears, who have looked great defensively, but did not put up a huge.
Apparently, he's a Niners fan now.
Yeah, he put on Facebook that he's tired of the Bears and his wife's a Niners fan, so he's a Niners fan now. So everybody, just so you know, Ralph's a Niners fan.
Yeah, bandwagon, bitch.
All right, so Raheem Mostert, he missed the game with his chest injury that he's missed 2 in a row now. I don't know if he's going to be back. Justin Herbert aggravated his ankle sprain. He might miss a game now. We'll see. Jordan Love seemed like he was getting close to potentially playing this past week, so maybe he's back next week.
He's still listed as week to week,
right?
So if he's not back, like he should have gone on IR.
Yeah. All right. So our standings. Steve is the lone undefeated at 6-0. Looking good. Nice job, Steve.
I still can't believe he started this whole Dynasty campaign with 95 IDP players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's also
and now like he has formed a team. Like, kudos, man.
Nice job. Joe and Josh are tied at 4-2. We've got 4 teams at 3-3. Me, both of the Jasons, and Neil. Janelle, despite putting up all these points, is 2-4, along with everybody else. So we got a whole lot of 2 and 4s. Janelle, Adrian, Drew, Raph, and Eddie. So Steve's out ahead, but other than that, everyone else is pretty much technically still in it, which you would expect by week 3. You wouldn't expect anybody to be out of the race by week 3.
Hope not. I mean, I've seen it 0-6 before, but come on.
Yeah, there was like so waivers ran this morning. There was like 5 players picked up. 2 were kickers, both from Steve. 2 linebackers and Lil Jordan Humphrey. So not a whole lot exciting. Nobody who got picked up had any bidding war. Each one had one claim put on them. I haven't seen any new trades this week. Unless I missed something.
Nope, I haven't seen anything.
Some NFL news. We didn't mention him in the injuries, but CMC is still out. The crazy thing, though, is apparently he's going to Germany to seek treatment for his Achilles tendonitis. And I heard it's because there's some medicine or something you can use, and Germany allows higher doses than the US. But I also heard somebody speculating with the way it's going that he might not be back until after their bye week, which is week 9, which means you might be out. It might be week 10 before you see Christian McCaffrey, and that's rough.
I don't understand how you were like questionable for week 1, and now you're not coming back until potentially week 9. Like where was the thought that you were like, he might play? Oh, now we're sending him to Germany because they have better medicine, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of a bummer. Brett Favre has Parkinson's. At least he can go hang out with Michael J. Fox now, and they can relate to each other. Like, I don't know.
It came to you.
Yeah. They can both be Back to the Future. I got none.
It's gonna be rough signing autographs. That's all I got to
say. DeMar Hamlin came back from the dead and finally had his first NFL interception. Thank you, Trevor Lawrence.
Right? I don't know. This guy's a troop. Like, he's got to be seeing like flashes every time he runs across the middle. But like, how is he not scared?
Good
it
for
is
him.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's impressive. All right, so that's all the NFL news. I got one update I need to give. So Drew and I, we need to come up with some more bets, but I want to talk about the one we do have going. So somehow I let Drew convince me that this bet should be Zay Flowers versus Calvin Ridley.
It didn't take much
for full PPR. Well, our league is half PPR, so I don't know why I agreed to this bet.
Because we have a different league that's full PPR, which is when we were talking about it.
Fine. So in full PPR fantasy points right now, Zay Flowers has 38.5 and Calvin Ridley has 34.6. So Flowers is in the lead. If we look at half PPR, Zay Flowers has 30.5, Calvin Ridley's has 30.6. So Ridley's ahead when it's half PPR. We got a long way to go.
That's the bet.
Right now,
good luck with Will Levis as your quarterback.
Yeah, well, good luck with Derrick Henry running the ball 90 times a game and scoring
at some point in time. They're gonna watch. He's gonna have
and at some point
against the Bills. It's gonna be
and at some point they're gonna remember that Mark Andrews is good and they should throw him the ball too.
Well, they keep triple covering him, and guess who's gonna be open?
I guess so. All right, so that's our recap for this week. There's no teams on bye in week 4. However, the byes do start in week 5, so everybody needs to start thinking ahead. That's exciting. This is when it gets fun.
Bye weeks,
because it
injuries,
hasn't been fun so far.
No, injuries have made it a little bit more interesting. God. But the bye weeks, that's when you really you start seeing those numbers where Steve might cut these guys that have set lineups that are like, oh, you set the best lineup ever. And it's like, well, you don't have a bye week. So just wait until those and everything starts to even out a little bit.
We'll see what happens. All right. Well, until next week. Cheers, bud.
Cheers.
Later.
See ya.
Bye.